Thank you, Chris. You're exactly right. Hello, everybody. Glad that you're here in the midst of everything that's going on with this coronavirus and everybody's kind of being secluded. I want to commend you for taking the time to be on this call because we have a nation to save. Several years ago, I was invited to a friend's home to watch our favorite football team play on television. There were 18 to 20 Black friends of mine who were there. All of them were Black Democrats. And that night, during the course of conversation, the subject of politics came up. When I shared with my friends that I was a conservative, you guessed it, the attacks began. One after another, they called me everything but a child of God. Uncle Tom, foot shuffler, house nigger. I mean, it went on the whole night. I never felt so frustrated all my life. So I went home that night thinking and mostly praying about how can I best articulate my conservative values and do it in a way where I can engage my family members, my friends, and do it in a way where I can win the narrative and win them. So after about several weeks and months of reading and research, through necessity of being sick and tired of being called a sellout and always being on the fence as a conservative, I created something called the Frederick Douglass Republican Engagement Strategy. So a year later, kind of fast forward a little bit, a year later, I invited those same Black Democrat friends of mine in my home to watch a football team play on television, our favorite football team. Reluctantly, they all came. And of course, that night, the subject of politics surfaced. This time, when they asked me about my political identity, they said, KCarl is a conservative. I said, wait a minute. I said, I'm more than a conservative. I told them I was a Frederick Douglass Republican. And I believe in life, and power, and values of Frederick Douglass. Respect for the Constitution, respect for life. I told them I believe in limited power of government, economic prosperity, free speech, school choice. When I went through that with them, all of them started talking about how they were a Frederick Douglass Republican too. It worked. For the first time in my life, I had the confidence, the knowledge, and the skill to engage my family members, my friends, even people of different ethnicities regarding my conservative values. I figured out a way how to trump the race card, pun intended. So what I want to do with you today, before I finish talking, you're going to know how to trump the race card, how to talk to anybody, not just minorities, but anyone regarding your conservative values, and know how to win the narrative and win them. So with that, Chris, let's go to the next slide. I believe that the key to winning elections is all about messaging. Let me ask you this question. As a conservative, how can we connect with Americans? And once we connect with them, how do we persuade them about the importance of liberty? In other words, how do we ignite America's passion for liberty? As conservatives, this is our #1 challenge. And I want to convey to you that until we convey a message of liberty effectively, we're losing. Next chart. Now, I hate to acknowledge this, but there's some things we just have to be honest about. And that is the left, in cahoots with the media, has succeeded in destroying the conservative brand. The word conservative has a racist connotation. In this political magazine article, a guy named David Friedlander interviewed AOC's chief of staff. And in this article, they're talking about it in the Democrat Party, there is a faction called Justice Democrats. You remember the Justice Democrats, that's that left-wing organization that recruited AOC to run for Congress in 2018. Well, in this article, they're talking about the Justice Democrats are going after the power of the Democrat Party. They're going after Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and John Lewis. Now, in this article, guess how they describe Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and John Lewis? They described them as conservative Democrats. I'm not making this up. Now, you got to tell me on which planet is Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and John Lewis Democrats? They are not Democrats. What the left understand, when you can pin the word conservative on someone because of negative propaganda, it automatically generates opposition and hatred toward that individual. This is what we're dealing with. Next slide, Chris. So as a result, conservatives are discredited. We're discredited before we even get a chance to speak because the left is propaganda and no winning conservative response. Because when you say the word conservative, that automatically slams the door to engagement, specifically diversity engagement. All you have to do is say the word conservative, and many Americans will automatically think you're talking about a racist. They will mentally shut down without giving the conservative point of view any serious thought. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not suggesting that we should abandon conservatism. That's not what I'm saying. But my point is, I suggest that when you're out and about and you have an occasion where you can engage in a conversation on politics, do not use the word conservative. Why? Because people will stop listening to you and shift into attack mode. Now, here's the takeaway from this chart. Using the word conservative to identify yourself politically is not the answer for overcoming the racist view that people have of us. You have a far better chance of being persuasive if you don't use the term conservative, and most certainly don't identify yourself as a conservative. So the question is, what's the answer? Next chart, Chris. The answer is Frederick Douglass. Now, and my point is this: learn to align yourself with America's greatest liberty messenger, because the left has no answer for him. Because when you include the writings, the life of Frederick Douglass into your conversations, you create trust and credibility for yourself, and people want to hear what you have to say. Because Frederick Douglass is a divine fit for the times we're living in today. His writing and speeches about free speech, immigration, religious freedom, personal responsibility, the right to keep and bear arms, the role of government, and much more are just as compelling and necessary today as they were 200 years ago. As I mentioned, the left has no answer for Frederick Douglass regarding Douglass's appreciation for the founders and his respect for the Constitution. Here's the takeaway. Frederick Douglass provides conservatives the leverage to trump the race card and improve our image. Next chart, Chris. When you say I'm a conservative, I mentioned before, when you say I'm a conservative, depends on where you are. People will stop listening to you. And as a result, what's lacking in the conservative movement, we lack a delivery system of our message that can win the propaganda battle. What I'm advocating is the delivery system is Frederick Douglass, because trumping this race card, when you leverage Frederick Douglass, now you have a way how to defend your conservative values by bringing in what Frederick Douglass had to say. And this is what the left has no answer for. Let me back up and explain to you what a Frederick Douglass Republican is. A Frederick Douglass Republican is not someone based on color. A Frederick Douglass Republican, a person who embraces the life and power and values of Frederick Douglass, respect for the Constitution, respect for life, the belief in limited power of government, and so on. So it's not about color that makes you a Frederick Douglass Republican, it's about those values. For example, I want to role play with you right quick. When people ask me about my political identity, knowing that the word conservative has racist connotation, I respond by saying, look, I'm more than a conservative. I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican. I believe in life and power and values of Frederick Douglass, respect for the Constitution, respect for life. So you got to have some content to go with that, okay? So I guarantee you in this chart, here's the takeaway. I guarantee you when you'll be able to trump the race card, you'll be able to trump the race card and have a far better chance of being persuasive once you learn how to leverage Frederick Douglass into your conversation, into your liberty message. Next chart, Chris. Now here's my contact information. My phone number there is my website. I'll be on the call here through the duration at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And again, I want to thank this organization for allowing me to be part of this. I appreciate it very much. I look forward to talking to you all.
KCarl, thank you very much. A fine presentation. KCarl goes around all over the country giving presentations at conferences and whatnot, other events. and he generally does not charge a speaker's fee as long as he gets to have the opportunity to sell his materials, his books. He's got some great handouts. If you do tables and booths at festivals and fairs, he's got some great handouts about the Frederick Douglass Liberty message for your tables. So we're going to go on now, and the next part of the program is we're going to have Brian Pannebecker, who's going to talk to us for 10 minutes about how to mobilize auto workers. Brian, do we have you? Have you unmuted yourself, and do we have your camera?
I believe so.
Okay, can hear you and see you. Go right ahead. 10 minutes on mobilizing auto workers to get out the vote.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks to Linda.